Welcome to the Truth Wins podcast. This is episode 67. We're titling it, What Was Jesus Like as a Kid? Stu happened to be there, so we have Stu, my good friend Stu, in the studio with us. Say hey, Stu.
Hey, Stu. Yes, and by being there, he meant that I've been to some of the places where Jesus lived when he was young.
Yeah,
not that I was actually his classmate at Bethlehem Elementary or something like that.
That's what I meant, exactly.
Okay. All right.
You've been to Israel. I would not bust on you right out of the gate like that. That just wouldn't be appropriate. Well, my name's Todd. I'm your host as always. We've been integrating in our podcast a little segment that we call Time to Stump Stu. And you said that last time when we introduced it in the last episode. But Time to Stump Stu is where we take your comments, questions, thoughts, consternations, disagreements, etc. And then I get them from our tech information lady. Is that what we want to call you, Autumn? Like our tech guru, content extraordinaire? Because she's good. She engages on there and knows a lot of that stuff, and then kicks us some of the ones that are a little dicey. But anyway, she grabbed some of these good ones here, and I picked up a few of my favorite. So today I'm going to stump Stu with this one first from Alan. And this was from our Not Enough Faith to Be an Atheist podcast. He says, if God knows everything, like what we will do before we're even born, then there's no such thing as free choice. Everything we do is predetermined. Everything you say is nonsense. Original sin is, and he says a naughty word there, rhymes with bull fits. Okay? So everything, original sin is that.
Could you be more specific?
I'll tell you later. I'll write it on a piece of paper so our audience doesn't hear it. Okay, original sin is BS. Why am I responsible for what Eve and a talking snake discussed? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Wow. That sounds like somebody who doesn't believe that anything in the Bible is true.
Correct.
So, yeah. And start that again, the first part.
If God knows everything, so basically everything's predetermined. So why are we on the hook for Eve and the sin and all that?
There's a difference between omniscience and volitional free will. Because just because someone knows what you're going to do doesn't mean they caused you to do it. I can know when the sun's going to rise tomorrow. I can know it to the exact minute, but that doesn't mean I caused it. Having complete knowledge does not mean equal causation. Mm-hmm. You can know the things that are coming without causing them.
So you're saying God has knowledge, but he doesn't cause
God
them.
never causes evil, but he knows we will act in ways that go against his will. Yeah. We sin, we do things that we shouldn't do, but God does not cause that.
So the safe thing would have been for God not to create us with that free will and the ability to sin, but he chose to risk it.
But then we would have been robots, automatons, and we would have had no free will and no capability of love. Mm-hmm. Love always involves a choice.
So to Alan's point, it does seem just at first glance that why are we on the hook for something that happened thousands of years ago with Adam and Eve and the snake?
But part of the deal there is you get a lot of things from your progenitors, the people who came before you.
Watch your mouth, okay? Just because he cusses doesn't mean you can, okay? What's this progenitors you're talking about?
It's like when you you clean office buildings and you're good at it, then you become a progenitor.
Oh,
so
boom. First pun right out of the gate. Go. I love it.
So what happened is the idea that as humans, we bear within us the rebellion against God, mm-hmm. because we all do that just from the get-go. Not only do we have incorrect views about God, we can't help but have those from the way we're born, because we're all born in sin. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're born in the immaculate conception, that some people have this idea that Mary was sinless. Mm-hmm. It never says that in the Bible, and it says that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Our problem is that we're sinners. Mm-hmm. And so we sin. That's what we do because we are sinners.
Yeah.
And it's been there from the beginning because Eve chose to disregard what God said and follow what Satan said. Mm-hmm. Satan tempted her by saying, did God really say? Getting her to doubt what God actually said.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe a good assignment for this is to read through Romans. It's the most systematic theology that we have in the Bible, where Paul just starts at the very beginning and says, we know there's a God through general revelation, but I think is it Romans 4 where he says that sin came into the world through one man, but then salvation, we're rescued through one man, Jesus. Was that Romans 4?
We're justified by his, so it talks about justification and sanctification from 5 to 8-ish there. And
So yes, it doesn't seem fair, but it certainly doesn't seem fair for a perfect holy God to die in our place.
Right.
Because it wasn't because of Adam and Eve that I've sinned in my life. It's because I did it in my selfish nature. Now, were they the ones that brought it into this world? Yes. If I could get back in the DeLorean and go and knock that apple out of their hands, would I? Yes. But obviously I can't. And I wish I could.
Do you have a DeLorean, Todd?
No, but it'd be cool.
That would be.
Wouldn't
I'd like
it?
to have doors that opened up like that. That would just be cool.
Yep. Okay. The other one that I want to throw out there, Michael said, "Oh, please." Now, this is from our one on stars, planets, and the end of the age or end times. "Oh, please, not the end is near BS." He shortened it up, so I don't have to come up with a rhyme.
Fits again.
Yes. So all these people are just so edgy. Come on, guys. "Oh, please, not the end is near BS. There is, was, and always will be ends," end quote. You can't have a beginning without an end. Just live life.
Except there's this one time where you can have a beginning without the end. So the universe had a beginning and it will have an end. But Michael, I'm sure, probably questions a lot of things, as we do, all of us.
Which is good.
And which is good. You want to use your mind and not, Christianity isn't something that you come into as someone who has all the answers, but you ask questions and you find answers and you find truth, because like Jesus said, for this reason I was born and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. That must be a pretty big deal if that's why he came.
Yeah.
And
he says it'll set you free.
Yeah.
Free from what?
I want to know the truth. Yeah. I don't want to know made up stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's free from not knowing the truth. And the truth is that we all will die.
Apart from.
Yeah. Like you said, we all are destined to die once, and after that to face judgment. So the end, the reason we want to talk about the end is because it's the end of life as we know it, but it's the beginning of eternity.
Right.
And if you don't know that truth, it's worth investigating. But I get your point, Michael, in that people who make that the main thing, like, oh, the end is near, as a way to control people, as a way to put fear into people, follow my way, give me money, therefore you'll be safe because Jesus is coming back, but if you're on my team, you'll be okay. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to look to Scripture and say, all right, the Bible does talk about a beginning and, as you said, an end, but you got to know when your life is at the end of your life, or if Jesus comes back before you die, are you going to be with God for all eternity or not? That's a big deal.
Yeah, because you are going to live eternally either way. And you don't want to live eternally separated from God.
No.
That will be horrific.
Yep. And that's why we do what we do. We think the truth hurts sometimes, but it will save your eternal soul. It'll save your life. All right, that was time to stump Stu.
And it succeeded as usual.
No, you do good. You did good. Done good. I'm proud of you, son. All right, let's talk about Jesus as a kid. Again, getting back in the DeLorean, go back and hang out with him and wrestle and play football. American football. I don't think he played soccer because Jesus is too cool to play soccer. But, you're hanging out with him. What does he look like? The problem is, the reason this came up is actually a good friend who listens to all our podcasts says, I've always wondered this because the Bible, the Gospels don't really tell us much. There's only like one or two little stories of him as a kid, and then everything's from 30 to 33 in his ministry. But there are, so we want to look at three things in this episode. One is, are there any stories out there outside of the Bible that talk about Jesus as a kid? Two, what's in the Bible and what can we extrapolate from that? And then three is, what do we know from Jewish culture? What do we know about Jews in Jesus' time and how they lived, and what would that help us to better understand? How will that help us to better understand what Jesus was like as a kid? So let's start with extra biblical stories. Any legends or stories out there that you know of that talk about Jesus as a kid?
Yeah, in some of the Nag Hammadi texts, the ones they found in Egypt, they say things like Jesus was they take things that are in the Gospels and then add on to them. So that Jesus was...
what are those texts, though? Let people know.
I don't know which specific ones.
But what's the Nag Hammadi?
Nag Hammadi texts are things like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Peter, all of which are written between 150 to 300 years after Jesus' time.
So all of them are Gnostic writings, or would you
Yes,
say most? Okay.
they all are.
So Gnostic is just this sect that came out that said, we believe in Jesus and the Gospels, but we have an extra knowledge. This is where we get it from gnosis, which is knowledge. So they had the Gnostic movement saying, we have this extra knowledge. And that's been going on forever, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have that, but I also have this extra little tidbit that you don't, so join my cult in that. So this is basically a cult that came up with writings, and they had some stories about Jesus as a kid, though?
Yeah, one of them was that when Jesus was little, that he took different, I think it was clay, and turned it into pigeons, and they came alive, since I think he was kind of showing off to the other kids. I mean, wouldn't that be kind of fun if you were, 12, 13, your Cub Scout troop, and, Timmy did his wood burning project over there, and Johnny tied some cool knots, and then you go, hey, watch this. Throw some pigeon.
Throw a clump of mud in the air and it flies away.
Yeah.
And then you shoot it with a shotgun, right? You're talking clay pigeons?